Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is There Came an Echo. It's a science fiction tactics game. It's probably the best way to describe it. Its unique gimmick, I suppose, is that the game is voice-controlled. It is designed to be played with your voice, and you order various units around the map using your voice in various waypoints that can be found on said map. The rest of the game is essentially cutscenes, so you've got a story, and then you've got the battles, and the battles tie the story together, and there is a slight bit of gameplay involved in changing around loadouts and equipping perks, but outside of that, that is the basics of what the game actually is. Now, of course, this being voice-controlled makes creating this video a little tricky. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually play through a round, and we're going to do it just with voice commands. So I'm not going to commentate at all, I'm just going to do voice commands. Then I'm going to do a second round, and then I'm going to commentate over that, because I'll have recorded that separately. That's the way it's going to work. So let's have a quick look at the options menu before we begin. Not a huge amount to see here. 30 FPS lock, I can't imagine why you'd want something like that. But you have lights, shadows, AA, VSync, and then windowed mode, and resolution goes all the way up as high as you would like it to. So the game is not particularly beautiful, although I would say that the aesthetic is quite alluring in certain respects, although I think that it would probably been better off that it actually just made a 2D isometric game, as opposed to actually rendering it in 3D. Then you get controls. These you don't have to worry about too much, of course, because you really shouldn't be using these anyway. This is designed to be played with the microphone. Now, if you want to do this, you can, but it's not particularly fun, I've got to say. I mean, you know, you got to play the game really in the way that it's designed to. And then you've got, of course, these various effects and sliders that you can mess with. And this is, of course, a very important thing to keep an eye on. Under miscellaneous, you have push to talk, which you can turn on or off. You can also turn on sound dampen and Intel RealSense. This doesn't need to be on. This involves actually using your hands to kind of wave around in an augmented reality sort of thing. And needless to say, we don't have access to that. So, yeah. Then you have voice calibration. So this is very important because, as you can see right here, this is the level of the voice. Loud and clear. There you go. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. There we go. So that basically determines as whether or not it's actually detecting it. And you might want to mess around with the voice sensitivity if it's not doing that. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. It's working one way or the other. It's good. Mic volume for some reason is set to 0, which is completely not true, but there you go. So that's the voice calibration. Now, you also have command aliases. Oh, wow. I actually didn't realize it did that. Command alias. Nope, that doesn't work. Okay. Voice calibration. Neat. Command alias. Cool. So you can actually order that around like that. So these are the names of your soldiers, and you can put in custom commands. For some reason, they've reset my custom commands, which we need to sort that out. So you can type in whatever you want. So Corin is voice acted by the one and only Will Wheaton, so he will now be Wesley. There we go. Okay, yes, we'll keep that. They have a custom about all the shorties in the club, which is just ridiculous. And then you can have a look at the other stuff here as well. So you can order them to do certain things. Some of them are really quite amusing. Some of them are, of course, completely ridiculous. So if we went to Phonetics, you'd see Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and if you don't want to use that, you can go A, B, C, D, E, E, F, and you can just type them in. You don't have to train it. It recognizes it just based purely on you typing it in. So if I want to, let's say, focus fire on, we could go fuck up. There we go. Why not? That would work. Stop bloody shooting would work, hopefully. And then you can switch to all of these different weapons. So these are all entirely configurable. So if you don't like the settings, you can change them around and put your own custom commands in, which are funny. I mean, I've got to admit, I mean, yelling at your screen and if we wanted to... Yeah, that's an idea. What we could do is, if we wanted him to recharge, we could set it to shut up, and then we can say, shut up, Wesley. There we go. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to play through a round of this, and I'm going to show you how it works, and this is going to be me using voice commands only to do things. So we're able to select a bunch of different weapons here. You start with a pistol, and you're also able to equip 2 different weapons, and you have a crew of up to 4 here. And you can then also equip a variety of different perks, depending on what exactly you want to do. So I want him to use the rail and the charge gun, so I'm going to get the focusing diode and the charger accuracy upgrade here. She's going to use the screw, which is an SMG, so I'm going to upgrade her a little bit. I'll leave her with a sniper rifle as well. She's got sniper access And I think I'm actually pretty much out of accessories outside of this one, so I'm just going to throw this one in. There we go. So you've got a little bit of customization here. And then when you're ready to rock and roll, you move out, and then that takes you into the combat section. And here is where the voice control will begin. Everybody, Alpha 1.
Understood.
Corrin, switch to charge. Corrin, focus 3.
Yes, sir.
Corrin, recharge. Still, Alpha 2. Grace, Alpha 2.
If you say so.
Miranda, switch to screw. Miranda, move to Alpha 6. Corrin, switch to pistol. Wesley, move to Alpha 5. Syl, move to Alpha 6. Syl, switch to rail.
Understood.
Grace, switch to sniper. Grace, fuck up number 1.
Who do you think I'm shooting at?
Wesley, Alpha 8.
Yes, sir.
Wesley, switch to rail.
You got it, Sam.
Shut up, Wesley.
Hey, don't talk to me like that. I don't care that it's a voice-powered game. I can hear you, and it hurt.
Can't go any farther. We need to hit these switches in order to open the door.
Corrin, recharge.
These rooms seem to have some extra battery packs lying around.
Syl, recharge.
If you clear them out, you should be able to grab them.
Wesley, switch to charge. Wesley, move to Bravo 1. Grace, move to Bravo 2. Miranda, move to Bravo 3. Syl, move to Bravo 2. Wesley, focus 7.
Got it. Too hot for me. Sam, clear it out.
Grace, focus 8. Syl, focus 8. Grace, recharge. Grace, switch to screw. Corrin, switch to pistol. Everybody focus 6.
Try a pincer attack on the enemy, Sam.
Syl, recharge. Corrin, recharge. Syl, recharge.
One.
Everybody move to Bravo 7.
Yeah.
Wesley, move to Bravo 8.
You got it, Sam.
Grace, move to Bravo 8. Syl and... Wesley and Grace, move to Charlie 2 on my mark. Miranda and Syl, move to Charlie 5 on my mark. Corrin, switch to charge. Syl, switch to charge.
Understood.
Mark. Everybody focus 12.
Got it.
Miranda, focus 13. Miranda, recharge. Corrin, switch to rail. Syl, switch to rail. Everybody switch to pistol. Syl, recharge. Corrin... never mind.
Speak up, Sam. We can't quite hear you.
Okay. Corrin and Miranda move to Delta 7.
Does not look safe, Sam.
La-di-da.
Speak up, Sam. We can't quite hear you.
Corrin and Miranda move to Echo 7.
Does not look safe, Sam.
Everybody move to Alpha 8.
Yeah.
Corin and Miranda move to Bravo 8.
Copy that.
Grace and Syl move to Delta 2 on my mark. Corin and Miranda move to Delta 5 on my mark. Corin switch to charge.
Yes, sir.
Syl switch to charge. Mark.
Seems like a bad move, Sam.
I disagree strongly. God damn it. Syl and Grace move to Delta 2.
I'm under heavy fire. Take out
Everybody
my
retreat. Everybody move to Alpha 5.
Can't get a shot off.
Corin recharge.
This is my last one.
Corin move to Delta 5 on my mark. Grace move to Delta 4 on my mark. Syl move to Delta 4 on my mark. Miranda move to Delta 6 on my mark. Mark.
If you say so.
Everybody focus number 15.
Can't get a shot off.
Too hot for me. Sam, clear it out.
Miranda focus number 18.
Understood.
Corin switch to pistol. Syl switch to pistol.
Hell yeah.
Everybody move to Delta 7. Everybody move to Delta 7. Wesley and Miranda move to Bravo 8.
You got it, Sam.
Delta and Syl move to Echo 2 on my mark. Delta and Syl move to Echo 2 on my mark. Oh.
Speak up, Sam. We can't quite hear you.
Grace and Syl move to Echo 2 on my mark. Wesley and Miranda move to Echo 5 on my mark. Corin switch to rail. Syl switch to rail. Mark. Wesley, focus 24. Everybody focus 21.
Can't use an alternate at the moment.
Wesley, move to Echo 4. Wesley, move to Echo 4.
Hello, Sam.
I'm under 20%.
Wesley, recharge. Miranda, recharge.
Last one.
Syl, recharge.
You're not.
Grace, revive Syl.
An innocent.
Corin, switch to charge. Corin, focus 22. Syl, recharge. Everybody switch to pistol.
Acknowledge.
Everybody focus 23. Miranda, revive Grace. Corin, recharge.
None left, Sam.
Grace, recharge. Grace, recharge. Corin, recharge.
This is my last one.
Who else have we got?
Speak up, Sam. We can't quite hear you.
Everybody move to Echo 7.
We need that door open. Hit the switch.
Activate override.
Lame. These two switches need to be pressed simultaneously, apparently. Get someone to the other side as
Wesley, move to Charlie 7. Miranda, move to Charlie 7. Activate override.
No, Sam, at the same time.
Everybody, activate override. Wesley, switch to charge. Syl, switch to charge.
Affirmative.
Grace, move to Foxtrot 4 on my mark. Corin and Syl, move to Foxtrot 2 on my mark. Miranda, move to Foxtrot 3 on my mark. Mark.
Hostile territory, sir. You trying to get us killed?
Miranda, move to Foxtrot 2. Corin and Syl, target 1. Grace, focus 5. Miranda, switch to sniper.
Copy that.
Miranda, focus 3.
Heavy fire is keeping me from getting a shot off, Sam.
Grace, retreat.
That's all I can do at the moment.
I'm under 20%.
Miranda, recharge. Syl, revive Miranda.
We're under heavy fire.
Corin, move to Foxtrot 3.
Nice shot.
Corin, switch to rail.
My energy's low, Sam.
Corin, recharge.
Switching back to pistol.
Well, there you go. That was me getting absolutely and completely destroyed at that, as you can see. Little bit of an awkward engagement, I've got to say, but there you go. Okay, so we're going to do some commentary now on the rest of it as we look to finish, and I will give you my conclusions on the game. I know, it's a little bit of a weird format, but it's voice control. There's not really a lot we can actually do about that. Okay, so we're going to talk over the cutscene, essentially, which is fairly lengthy to talk about the rest of the game. I've turned the volume down, and I'd recommend that if you don't want to see story spoilers, of which there will be some, that you minimize the window so that you can't read the subtitles. So what you just saw, of course, was a demonstration of a battle controlled entirely with the voice. Now, you can control this with the mouse and keyboard. It's not particularly great, the interface is not designed for that, and I would not recommend it under any circumstances. In fact, if you're going to play this, make sure you have a microphone and make sure it actually works. Now, as to how well it works with different accents, well, it works fine with mine. 98% of the time, I'd say, it gets the command right. It's very, very rare that it doesn't, and when it doesn't, it'll usually say speak up and just have you repeat the command. But what about the gameplay? Well, I think you saw that it was something of a tactical battle game. Essentially, it's real-time tactics. You are tasked with moving 4 soldiers around and having them focus on different targets with different weapons. And if you're able to do so effectively, you will be able to win the encounter. You can move only to the waypoints that are preset on the map, which makes the game inherently limited in and of itself, and essentially makes the whole thing a real-time puzzle of sorts. Now, what I will say is the levels have quite a lot of variety. There's actually kind of a tower defense level that I played previously, which involves moving turrets around and also gives you a set of mines that you can detonate. So there's a reasonable amount of variety within the combat missions, and they're actually very compelling to play. Now, the voice command really is the key factor for this particular title. And if you played it without the voice command, I'd say that what you get is a fairly mediocre tactics game, because you are limited in what you can do with your soldiers, you are limited in where you can move them, you are limited in the weapons that you have access to, what you can fire on, and so on and so forth. If you want to play a proper real-time tactics game, then you're probably going to be looking for something more complex than this. But it's the voice command that gives it the pacing, and it's the voice command that makes it challenging, because everything's being done in real time, and it requires you to think on your feet quite rapidly. Not to mention, there is a serious amount of cool factor involved in the voice command. There have been games that have attempted to do voice command before. End War is a prime example of that. This one does it really well because I think it sticks within its means. It doesn't go overboard with the voice commands, it doesn't use too many of them, and it limits what you can do to the point where the voice commands are going to be accurate and they're going to be quick and responsive, which is very important. But is it a gimmick? I think you could probably argue that the voice command is a gimmick, but simultaneously, you can also argue that the way that the voice command is designed also affects the pacing of the game directly, because you're only able to give out commands as fast as you can speak. So the pacing of the game and the way that the game is designed is all based around the idea that you are going to be issuing commands verbally. And you can't ignore that. You can't simply take that out of the game and expect the game to play the same way. It's a strange situation, really, because you could argue that, well, it's the same as playing a flight sim without a flight stick. It's not going to play as well, but you can still play it, and you could still look at the game on its own merits. And I'd say that, yes, you could, but I think in this case, everything is so incredibly bound to the voice communication system, and all of the challenge involved in the game involves using the voice communication system effectively. And as a result, I don't think it really is just a gimmick. I think it's actually intrinsically tied to the pacing and design of the game in a way that's effectively inseparable, and the game just does not play anywhere near as well without it. But if you were to strip it away, you'd have a fairly mediocre tactics game, with limited weapons and limited options available. However, I'd say this game is more than the sum of its parts thanks to the voice command system, and maybe this is just down to nostalgia. I tried to identify exactly why it is that I found There Came an Echo so compelling, and it did come down to using the voice commands, but could I identify exactly why? Well, not really, until I thought, hang on a minute, this is my childlike self speaking, isn't it? This is me imagining what games could have been like when I was 9 or 10 years old, imagining this notion of voice-controlled games of the future. And it turns out we actually have one right here, and it actually works. That's, I think, where a lot of my enjoyment comes from. But it isn't just that. It's not just a nostalgia fest for me. It's not just that sense of childlike wonder, although that's clearly there in spades and it's obviously affecting my opinion of the game, and that may not be something that you necessarily share. No, it really also comes down to the mental acuity required to keep up with the commands at the right kind of speed, because this game can get pretty damn hectic. You've got to remember the names of all 4 of your compadres, you've got to make sure they move to the right place at the right time. If they're out of cover, they get killed quick, as you probably noticed when I got murdered in the final room there. So you need to be on your toes constantly, so it provides that mental challenge, and everything is just a big adrenaline rush when you're issuing your commands and you're trying to make sure that your brain is keeping up with your mouth as opposed to keeping up with your hands. That's a fundamentally different experience, and this comes from someone that's a real-time strategy player. That's where the game shines. Now, outside of that, the game has a lot of cutscenes, as you probably noticed, some lengthy cutscenes, and the voice acting is... it's mixed, honestly. I really love Ashley Birch's character. She delivers the lines absolutely perfectly, and it's very well written. Will Wheaton's character kind of plays a Will Wheaton everyman. He sounds like Will Wheaton, he enunciates like Will Wheaton, and frankly, he speaks like Will Wheaton. So you are playing Will Wheaton, the video game there. And outside of that, some of the writing is somewhat stilted. I particularly disliked the interaction between the female mercenary and the guy that was speaking with a British accent earlier on in the game and now is not, for story reasons. It was stilted, the jokes were falling flat on their face, the humor is not the strength of the game. But the storyline is intriguing and, of course, is based in the far future and deals with ethical issues of cloning and DNA manipulation and so on and so forth, as well as privacy and the idea that you can create a encryption system that nobody can break. You've got to like the story, really, because half the game is that, and the game does run for about 4 hours and effectively has no replay value whatsoever outside of upping the difficulty level. So the question is that worthwhile? Well, to me, There Came an Echo is a really unique experience that actually points out that voice command can not only work, but it can actually really add to the experience and not simply be a ridiculous gimmick. As a proof of concept, it's pretty damn strong. As a 4-hour tactical experience, with the voice commands, it is challenging enough and stressful enough to actually be a little bit of an adrenaline rush. And if you happen to gel with the characters and enjoy the story, then it will be a fairly enjoyable 4 hours of your time. And you can get it for the price of $15 or your regional equivalent. The soundtrack is also fantastic. It's by Ronald Jenkins and Big Giant Circles, although they do claim it's an original soundtrack. That's not really true. This Ronald Jenkins music is already out. I actually already own the album with it, which was a bit disappointing for me. I was hoping for some originals. I think some of the Big Giant Circle stuff is an original, though, so yeah, it's nice music, but simultaneously, if you already own the albums, then you're going to run into a situation where you're hearing music that you like, but not music that is new. So that's a little bit of a shame. Iridium has used Ronald Jenkins as an artist before in their game Sequence, which was, of course, a pretty fun rhythm-based RPG, and we had the same problem there. You were playing tracks that you already knew. And that's pretty much what There Came an Echo is in a nutshell. I mean, it really doesn't have a great deal of complexity going for it, and that's not necessarily terrible. The voice commands work great, and there is this real feeling of power as you command your soldiers around to different areas on the map because it's so damn responsive, and because it works, at least for me, about 98% of the time, and works well. So, regardless of the simplicity of the tactical element, I think that the addition of the voice command actually adds a fairly unique challenge to the game. And as a direct result, you might want to consider picking this one up. If not for full price, wait for a sale, wait for a bundle, you'll have a little bit of fun with it. It goes by the name of There Came an Echo, folks. It's by Iridium Studios. It's available for $15 or your regional equivalent. My name has been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.